There we go. My face is being blocked.
All right, everyone. Thanks. I'm that one guy in Sunday school. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late today, and we're running on the new time, which is 5:15 Eastern. And I'm here with my guests, Jared and Sean, who are leaders in Young Life, the Christian organization. And we're today talking about being in college and being Christian, which is sort of seemingly an oxymoron, it seems like, today. And so, Jared and Sean, I guess Sean, you first. How and when did you become a Christian?
I became Christian my sophomore year of high school through Young Life. Um, yeah, I had a leader that really poured into me, who's now one of my closest friends. And yeah, and most to answer your question, in sophomore year of high school through Young Life.
And Jared, how long have you been a Christian?
Um, Pretty much my whole life. I grew up in the church, and in sixth grade, we changed churches to the church that my family currently goes to, and then I go to when I go home. And all my friends went there, and so being in that community of like super close friends and having each other to hold one another like accountable and build each other up and go on these super fun like uh, just different trips. I go on mission trips a couple times a year, and so like all of that throughout my whole life has just kind of kept me rooted in my faith. But
Well, those are great answers. Thank you. Now, I think a lot of people maybe heard of Young Life, but don't really know what exactly is that organization. Can you tell me about it, Jared?
Sean probably should. He's been in it for 6 years. I just became a leader when I came to college. So
Okay.
Pretty much Young Life is an organization. It's a nonprofit organization worldwide that tailors to bringing the gospel to high school kids. We don't just say, "Hey, come to our thing." We have things like Club Campaigners, which is Campaigners is Bible study. Club is just a fun time to get together for 15 minutes.
kind
At
of like
the
a
end.
youth group.
Yeah,
Almost.
yeah.
So
For 15 minutes at the end, we come together and just talk about something from the Bible. But it's like not just a, "Hey, come to club, come to Campaigners." We go to the school. We build relationships with kids. We just hang out more than just preaching the gospel to them. Really,
Okay.
it's a relational
So
ministry.
you're just normal kids who are Christian, and you like getting together, sharing the gospel, and having a good time. Is kind of what it sounds like.
Sort
Pretty
of. Not
much.
Did I
all the
miss anything?
kids. Not all the kids
not
are
all kids are
believers or
Christian.
followers.
So you accept like you have people in there
Yeah.
that are not
Yeah,
Christian,
anybody.
Anybody.
and so you guys are both leaders in Young Life.
Yes.
So how would you react if you had someone who wanted to hang out with you guys who was, I don't know, openly homosexual, or someone who's clearly not exactly in the mainstream of Christianity? How would
I'd
you, as leaders in Young Life,
I'd be
associate with them? Would you?
I'd be down to hang out, like, because like if I just shy them away just because they're gay, they're not going to want to come hang out. They're not
Mhm.
want to come be open to the idea of Christianity. It's not, as leaders, we don't have the, as humans, we don't have the power to say, now you follow Christ. You follow Christ. We can't make that decision for kids. We can just, I guess, nudge them in the right, like guide them in the right direction.
Okay.
So no matter what you believe, I still hang out with a kid.
Well, I love that answer. Now, what does a normal Sunday look like for each of you? I guess, Jared, you first.
So it's a little different whether I'm home or at college. In college, I go to the Sunday night Mercy Hill services. They're like college tailored for college students. I've grown into sleeping in on Saturdays. I don't do anything wild on Saturday nights. I just kind of am up late and then I sleep in. But I go to the college services that night. Um, Try to have some quiet time on Sunday if I can, where I'm just kind of alone with like the Bible and myself.
That's great. And Sean, what does a Sunday look like for you?
Pretty much the same. I go to the Mercy Hill College service. If I'm not already at y'all's apartment,
We are all roommate.
if I'm at
Sean's
their
basically
apartment,
our roommate.
yes. If I'm at their apartment, I'll be there playing games, talking to Jared. But if I'm at home, I'm probably sleeping most of the day, and then I go to the Mercy Hill night service.
All right. Now, what have, I guess you personally, but also as people in Young Life, do you have stances on controversial topics like abortion or women being in church leadership or like preaching politics? Do you guys shy away from things like that, or is that something you kind of are upfront about is in Young Life?
I mean, in Young Life, the only thing that we will like fully go in on like in front of kids is Jesus. We don't, because there's a good chance that there are kids that disagree with us on more political issues like abortion or like I mean, if you want to take it to anything, gun rights, anything like that, there's a fair chance that
Well,
there's kids that disagree with us on all of that.
I would say gun rights is not as
Sure,
directly
it's
of a
not
biblical
religious, but I'm just
issue.
talking like
Some would argue that it is, but for the
Yeah.
purposes of this conversation, no.
sure. Well, I'm just mean
Yeah.
anything, any sort of like debate today, like because I throw
Mhm.
abortion in there with all of
Yeah.
those kind of controversial debates. There's a good chance that there's kids that disagree with us. So, I mean, unless a kid approaches us about it and asks like what we believe on it, we'll share it with them, but we're not going to outright say like, you know, I am pro-life, and if you're not pro-life, you're wrong. That's not the vibe that we want to give off in Young Life. And
You're trying to bring people to Jesus, and then
Right.
like that's your goal there.
right, because everyone's different in a lot of ways, but
Yeah.
Jesus should be our one kind of
For
lifeline.
for example, you asked me earlier about having a openly gay Young Life kid. If they're openly gay, I'd still allow them. They can still come. They're still going to be my friend. But like, because since we can't hold people that don't follow Jesus to the same standards that we follow, I would let them live your life. But if you come to me and say, "Hey, I think I want to follow Jesus," that's when I'm like, "Hey, okay, we're gonna have to have a talk." And that's when you approach stuff like that, when you earn the right to be heard.
Well, thank you. And now that we've sort of introduced my special guest today, we're actually going to flip the script a little bit on the show, and we're going to get to our main topic, which is being Christian while on college campus. And that's going to be questions for the three of us from my assistant, Morgan. So, Morgan, how about you get us started? What's our first question that we're going to have to tackle? Big
All
major
right.
topic.
So the first question is, what is it like for you to be Christian while at college?
Jared, would you like to start? Doesn't have to be a
Sure.
long answer, but just
Sure.
kind of in a short
Yeah,
couple sweet
I
sentences.
mean, college definitely gives rise to a lot of different opportunities and temptations, and I think because I've like made it or been intentional about staying grounded, like going to Mercy Hill on Sundays and being a part of Young Life where I'm constantly living out the ministry. I think it's a little bit easier than if you come into college without like sort of like a foundational platform and trying to get yourself or put yourself into those situations. I think it's really easy to fall into the crowd that's not doing all of that.
Mm.
And so for me, I've tried to not change much about my life, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Sean, what's it like for you to be a Christian at college, at a non-Christian college, I guess I should say?
At first, it was very difficult. I fell into a lot of temptation and just wasn't really doing the things that I knew I should. I was doing the things that I knew I shouldn't do. But the more I found like community, friends who believed the same thing, started going to Mercy Hill more, I began to remember who I was in Christ. So it can be very like, temptation is a strong thing in college. Anybody can tell you that. It's probably in college, it's probably the strongest it will ever be. But yeah, if you find community.
And I think as for me, a lot of it, because I kind of live in a bubble in college. I just sort of I hang out with my assistant Morgan and these guys, and just I don't do a lot, but I feel like the same temptations I faced before I face now. But now all of a sudden, no one else would consider those temptations. Everyone would be like, "Dude, it's totally normal." Like, and so for me, it's part of keeping my faith. Like, no, I still know what my morals are, and I'm not gonna listen to you when you tell me that it doesn't matter, because I think it does matter. What's next on the queue?
All right. So how do you react to Proverbs 1:7, which specifically say, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction"? So do you think God should come first before our education?
So, like, since the fear of the Lord is the beginning,
Yeah.
so should God be first in like our schools and education? And how should we work with like a dare I say, godless campus? I guess I can begin with that one. I think the scripture is clear. If it's the beginning, there's no point in seeking all this kind of education if you're not right with God first. I think that obviously we have separation of church and state or whatever, but that doesn't mean we in our personal lives can't study the Bible more than we study any of our okay, we should probably be studying the textbooks too. But God is the one who invented all of this science and math and all these things. He knows it all. And so what purpose is there in trying to learn it if we're not learning about the guy who invented it all to begin with? Would you fellows have any different reactions or any other thoughts? Sean, I guess you look like you may have something.
I would say, like, just like in anything, God always comes first. Relationships, God comes first. School, God comes first. Family, God comes first. It's the same thing as school. Like, it's about where your heart is, and I guess, for lack of better words, what you would put more effort into, for lack of better words.
Yeah, pretty much what you said, Carl. I think like there's a lot of earthly things that are important still, you know what I mean? Not as important, like, God's
Yeah.
always number one, but you have to be very intentional about where you put that stuff. And I think school is very important, and it's right. It has the right to be important and held high in our society. And so I just think as long as school doesn't become like an idol in your life and become like number one, then I don't have a problem with the way that school is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that makes perfect sense, and I love that answer. Morgan, what are you going to throw at us next?
Okay. So what do you do, or like what do you think when a teacher like or a professor teaches like more like unchristian stuff, like if you were like in like biology and they're like focusing on evolution and all of that?
This is a tough one. I guess we shouldn't all jump at once. Have either of you been in a class where that specifically happened? Because I don't think I have yet. I'm still fairly new here.
Not in college.
Well, let's say, how should we react, or how would you? You said not in college. Has this
Yeah.
happened to you like in
In
high
high
school?
school.
In high
'cause
school?
we were taught about evolution, and it was when I was relatively a new believer, and I just tackled it by asking my young life leader at the time a lot of questions about it and what was right. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had a teacher last year, I think it was first semester, who like I'm a religious studies major, so I take a lot of religion courses, and he kind of like I need to do like more research on this and understand it more, but he's of the belief that like science and religion can go together, that you can be both, and that like evolution not meaning monkey to human, but more meaning like, seeing how birds change over time, like like he used that more as like it's like a physical way that they've changed, as opposed to like something not like I don't remember how I put it, and like I said, I need to do more research into it, but I don't think like science and religion necessarily always are like against each other. I think sometimes they can go together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Morgan, were you hinting at just topics in general that would disagree with Christianity and evolution? Example, like like marriage or something?
Yeah.
Or
So
like gender theory and things like that. So just topics in general that we as Christians
evolution
wouldn't
was just
necessarily
an
agree
example.
with. Okay. So I was not in this class, but I happened to walk right by a classroom where some form of gender studies was being taught, and it was saying, gender is purely a social construct. There's no biological basis for it at all. How should we as Christians react to something like that? Because for me, it's very tempting to say, I'm just going to sit down, do my work, get A's in my classes, and not talk about it. But should we stand up and just say, Professor, I think you're wrong? Because a lot of times they'll dismiss it as like, oh, well, that's just Christian dogma. So
Mhm.
how do you think we should react?
Kind of like, should you do a whole God's not dead type thing?
Right.
Yeah, that's
Should
exactly
we
my
go
point.
all God's not dead and try to get into a series of 20-minute debates at the end of class type of thing?
What I would do is, if the opportunity was of course given, I would of course like argue and speak my side. But it's about how you come at it. If you're coming at it from like, I'm wrong, you're right, here's why, instead of like,
I'm right, you're wrong.
yeah,
You said I'm wrong, you're right.
yeah, yeah, that, instead of just attacking, because like a lot of the time, that's what turns people away from Christianity, is they feel attacked, they feel like their view doesn't matter. So making sure they feel heard, instead of like feeling like we're just cutting them off and not listening, is a huge key in tackling those subjects and topics and arguments.
Yeah. I mean, I think like if you want to talk like God's not dead, the whole premise of that was the teacher was asking him to just say goodbye to his beliefs, like a gender thing where they're telling you this, like that gender is a social construct. It's not as like fundamental to your beliefs as like God is dead.
Right.
Right.
It's not so clear cut.
So I think like you can't jump up the way that he does, like that you would if someone said to you like God's dead, and you better believe it. You don't have the same like I guess authority, maybe, or the same validity to jump up and be like, "Whoa," you know what I mean? Because for me, because you're also going to be outnumbered more than likely,
Yeah.
especially on this campus.
I mean, even in that movie, it was just one in a class of hundreds.
Exactly.
And that's what it's like. Here's is a big school.
Exactly. So, I just lost my train of thought. That's not good.
It's okay. It's okay. It happens.
But
It happens to me all the time on this
maybe
show.
you can
Just
see-
ask my listeners. I drive them nuts.
Maybe you can see where I was going with that, but
I think so. Would you like us to try to talk about more, or do you want to move on to the next one?
It's up to you, depending on time.
Let's move on.
Okay. So, how do you respond when people say that Christianity is an outdated religion?
So is this like going with the whole trend of people just saying, "Okay, boomer"?
Kind of.
Like it's so college is all about like new stuff and the latest. How do we respond to that?
Yes.
Well, I mean, my first thought is you shouldn't just jump on the newest bandwagon of anything that people say is cool or correct. Just because it's older doesn't mean it's necessarily wrong. And I guess look at it on like a case-by-case basis. You can't just say, well, just because this happened 2,000 years ago, this was founded 2,000 years ago, it doesn't mean it was incorrect. You should look at the basic like tenets of Christianity and evaluate those individually. I realize it's not a very specific thought. Sean, do you have an idea? How would you respond to someone that's like, "Okay, boomer, your Christian ideas are so outdated"?
Leading Young Life, you hear that a lot, especially when you go to the school. Well, I don't know about you, but I hear it a lot. And it's just a matter of not just shooting them down like, "Hey, shut up, I'm right." And just let me be right. It's more like, "Hey, I understand that you feel like that, but I'm still going to believe what I believe. I'm still going to try to share it with you. Not like shove it down your throat, share it with you, but like I'm still going to try to like show you, try to help you understand where I'm coming from." And yeah, it's just, once again, it's a matter of how you tackle that field.
Well, that was a great answer, especially since you have personal experience on this. Jared, do you also?
He's got it covered. He's got it covered.
Got it covered?
That's pretty much how I was gonna say. Like, that's when you show them it's not outdated. You show them through the way you treat them and your love, and like that's like the big thing is like be Christ-like in that. And so sometimes like, how would Jesus respond to being told that he is outdated? You know what I mean? And so you just maybe ask them why they think it's outdated and try to find tangible ways to be like, here's why it's not. So
I like that. We're not going to go all Elisha style in the Old Testament when someone's like, go up thou bald
Exactly.
head, and like a she bear comes out of the woods and eats the kid. We're not
yeah.
we're not going to bite like that.
Okay. So do you feel like it's openly okay on our campus specifically to be Christian?
What, like separation church and state, or like, is that what you're sort of getting at?
Do you feel like it's okay to be Christian openly on our campus?
It should be.
Totally should be.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do because I am Christian and I
Mm-hmm.
live on this campus, but I think there might be a lot of people that say no, that say like times are changing and that like you're wrong. Everything you believe is wrong, and that like you're just a hateful group of, I mean, especially when the group of Christians they see is the Westboro Baptist Church,
Right.
God hates gays and stuff like that. It's like that's
Yeah.
not what it is. I think a lot of people feel like it probably doesn't belong anywhere. So
I think there are people that feel that way. I feel like there's a lot of people who maybe other students used to feel like it's not good for us to be here, but like a university is where you're supposed to get exposed to new ideas, some of which you may not like. And so I feel like that gives us as Christians the right to be here just as much as anybody else.
Mhm.
We're presenting ideas here that, atheists may see as, I don't know, hateful, or they don't like us. But just because it's a public university, like, we can be here and we can express our beliefs. We're not forcing it on anybody. Sean, do you feel that way, or do you have a thought I'm missing? or-
I haven't personally experienced anything that told me that it wasn't. Through college, I've had gay friends, atheist friends, just all from different ideologies, beliefs, backgrounds, and I respect them just like they respect me. It's from a point of I'm going to believe what I believe, you're going to believe what you're going to believe, but like I'm not going to make you feel wrong for believing what you believe.
Did we satisfy your
Can I make
question?
a comment?
Of course.
All right. On this campus, it feels very okay to be Christian. My previous college, being a private school, it did not feel as openly okay to express your beliefs.
And both were secular college. They weren't like affiliated with the church or anything.
Kind of. Because the college I went to before was started by Moravians.
But was it currently run by Moravians?
No, but it did have a pasture right in my dorm building.
Well,
yeah.
Interesting observation.
Yeah. So the last serious question before we get into the fun ones. Basically, if you were not Christian right at this moment, where do you think you would be?
Not anywhere good. I'd like to think I have enough sense that I wouldn't be like wasting my life away with drugs or something, but I mean, I can't say that wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of dumb stuff. I get obsessed with like just simple stuff like video games all the time, and I think like if I tried like drinking or something, I'd probably totally wreck my life. It's scary for me to think about where I would be if I didn't have Christ keeping me between the guardrails on the straight and narrow path type of thing. It's an unfriendly thought, but I don't think I would be anywhere close to as happy as I've been since I've been Christian.
As someone that hasn't followed Christ all their life and just started their sophomore year when they were 16, I'd probably be somewhere high, drunk, having sex, probably a father, or probably dead.
Okay.
It's a long list of places I could be.
Well, I'm glad you're not there.
Same. Retweet.
Yeah. There's like opportunities that I had in high school that if at the time I wasn't following Christ, things would have gone differently. Not so much like in college. I don't know how different my life would be. Maybe I just want to be a young life leader and I want to be going to church. But like, had some things gone differently in high school, I'd be in a much different spot.
All right. So bottom line is none of us would be anywhere good.
Right.
We're all very
Yes.
glad we're Christians.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
On to the fun questions.
Okay.
So, first one I'm going to ask is, what is your favorite story in the Bible or verse?
My My favorite story in the Bible.
Mhm.
Gosh, there's so many.
I don't have a story, but I have a verse. It's tattooed on my forearm.
Okay.
1 Peter 5:7. No, 1 Peter 4:7. Cast all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. As someone that deals with depression and anxiety, I lean on that a lot whenever I get those, like, get in those moods. I'll just read it over and over again. And then just reminds me that I can put it on God and he's still going to care for me, still going to be there for me.
Amen to that. And the story,
Hallelujah.
yeah, the story that was actually on my mind actually is a little bit similar to that, because I've shared it on this channel before, as the story of Elijah right after his famous miracle with calling down fire from heaven, when he asked God to let him die, which to me sounds an awful lot like an actual prophet who was going through depression bad enough that he wanted to be dead, kind of semi-suicidal, and how God has stood with you even in those really hard moments.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite story. And I guess I feel guilty not saying this. Anything to do with Jesus, my favorite story. Any of the parables. I especially love the Good Samaritan. I almost said the Lost Samaritan.
Yeah.
That's a good
Samaritan.
one.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories. Like I really like a lot of the stories in the book of Daniel. When they walk in the fire and they come out and they're perfectly
Yeah.
fine. Like imagining that is just like incredible. But my favorite verse, without a doubt, is Matthew 9:12, and it says it's like Jesus is having dinner, or he's hanging out with like tax collectors and
Yeah.
just a bunch of people that everyone hates. And like the Pharisees ask him, like, why do you eat with them? Why do you do all this stuff with them? And he says, because it's not the healthy that need a doctor, but the sick. And that's just like a model that, like, whether it be back home in my church and in the stuff that I did with the church or in Young Life, like, we aim to go for the farthest out kid or the farthest out person that we can reach. And that's the way that kind of Jesus lived his life. And so that verse always like stays near and dear to my heart.
Amen to that. I love that verse. I think I've talked about it a little bit on the show before in weeks previously. It's a great passage.
All right. The next one is, what is your like favorite like Christian song or like artist?
Christian music. I'm tempted to say like just Amazing Grace, because that's just one that's so easy to get stuck in my head.
Yeah.
As far as any like more contemporary songs,
There's a lot.
there's a lot.
There's a lot that I like.
I like a lot of songs by, I'm going to butcher her name, it's like Francesca
Battistelli.
Battistelli. He Knows My Name. I like
Mhm.
that one.
I'm not wearing my hoodie. I have a For King and Country hoodie. And they're a little different. They don't really have like guitars. It's a lot of percussive type, like drums, xylophones, pianos, like a lot of that kind of like chimey music. And I've seen them live. I go to, with my church, we have this trip where we see like a bunch of, it's like a Christian music festival type thing, and I've seen them a couple times, and their whole message and thing is really, really cool. They have a song called Priceless. That's really, really dope. It's about like chivalry, pretty much, like women are priceless, and that men we have a certain duty to hold that value to them. So
There's one song that I tear up every time I hear it, and it's called Clean. I've heard different people sing it. I don't know exactly who it's by, but it pretty much talks about how there's a line in it that says there's nothing too dirty that you can't make worthy. And if that just doesn't speak to the gospel and what it means, I don't know what does. Like, no matter how broken you are, no matter your background, what you come from, like, if you put your life in him, you are now clean. You are now a new creation. Your past is gone. You're like a completely new person in his eyes.
I love that. And the two songs I forgot to mention just a minute ago are Forgiven and You Are More. I love those.
Forgiven by who? Do you know?
I want to say Crowder. Yeah,
Crowder. Yeah,
Crowder.
Crowder's.
And I think You Are More is 10th Avenue North.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is.
Love those songs.
Also a fan of Kanye's album.
Just
gonna leave it
latest
there.
Christian album.
Just gonna leave it there.
All right. So since today is December 1st, what is y'all's favorite Christmas tradition?
We don't have a lot of traditions, but like one we have is the Christmas Story comes on for 24 hours on Christmas Day. And that's the only thing that's on any TV, no matter what house we go to. And we watch it whenever we're not talking or whatever. And we just watch it the whole 24 hours or as long as we're awake.
I think I love the Christmas music, like the ones that are actually about the like nativity and stuff, like Silent Night and those things. I mean, I love, All I Want for Christmas Is You too. Can't hate that, but I think the Christmas music is maybe one of my favorite thing.
Yeah, those are good. I think it's different from when I was a kid versus now. Like now, I have a little sister. We're 9 years apart. She's 11, and so I'm almost experiencing Christmas like vicariously through her, because like she still is just all into it. And like, the older I've gotten, the more I've like not withdrawn, and like she's just brought me back into it a little bit. And like I get super pumped up some more for her than for myself. And so I think one of my favorite things was always like waking up in the morning, and me and my two sisters, her and the middle sister, we sit on my parents' bed in the back while my parents go in and look at all the stuff from Santa and under the tree and get everything set up. And then they shut the door. And then they say, "All right, come on." And they open the door. They have the fireplace going. They have their video camera. They walk in, all the reactions, and that's probably the best one.
Oh, they got the name of the singer.
Oh, thank you, Happy Latter-day
you.
Saint.
Wow.
I love your channel too, and you were one of my biggest fans. Thank you so. Oh my gosh.
Natalie Grant.
Wonderful
Natalie
to have you
Grant.
watching. Happy Latter-day Saint. Thanks for coming. Sorry, I didn't notice your comment until just now.
All right. So the last one is, what is your favorite Christmas carol, both sacred and then secular?
Ooh, my favorite. Silent Night.
Christmas Carol, or just like any song?
Any song.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna say Silent Night and All I Want for Christmas Is You. I get that. All right. There's my answer.
I'm gonna have to go with, because I can't think of any. I'm gonna say Silent Night.
Okay.
And
Don't everybody jump at once.
I'm trying to think. There's a lot.
All right. Well, mine is probably "Oh Holy Night."
Okay.
And there's a song. What's his name? Can I use my phone? I'm gonna use my phone real quick.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find it out.
I love Silent Night. The First Noel.
A Little Town of Bethlehem's also.
Right. That's a good one. I feel like there's one that it's like right on the tip of my tongue and I can't think of it.
Harry Connick Jr. It Must Have Been Old Santa Claus. I don't know how many people will know that one, but it's. I was just like really happy. I remember like sitting in the kitchen baking Rice Krispie treats, listening to that song with my parents.
What child is this? Thank you, Happy Latter-day Saint. I love that one too.
Oh, Come All You Faithfuls.
That's a great one.
I take it back. That's my favorite.
Okay.
Okay, I really like Little Drummer Boy. That's
Okay.
a great one by the Pentatonics, because they're just great.
Freaking country. The band I said earlier.
Pentatonics.
Best Little Drummer Boy I've ever heard.
Well, is that the end of our questions, or do you have any?
That's all I have.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Happy Latter-day Saint, for joining us, joining my friends, Jared and Sean. We're just three Christians. All right. Okay, here we
There
go.
you go.
3 Christians that go to college. We're all students here at, well, at least, yeah, you're a student here.
Sort of.
University of North Carolina, Greensboro, and proud to be Spartans. And okay, we're humble to be Christians.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to be proud.
There you go.
Humble
love
to be
it.
Christians and grateful for that. We're thankful that we're know Christ.
Yeah.
Considering all the other crazy stuff that goes on campus.
Hallelujah.
And join me again at 5:15 next Sunday. And one last thought. A few weeks ago, I promised you a video about the President Monson sermon, Love the Essence of the Gospel. And I have been working on that. And it is going to be up this week. I promise you. You got my pinky promise here or whatever. Because I guess my regular word isn't enough. But it's coming. Thank you for watching. Have a great week.